So now get into more of a cellular aspects and binding interactions. So molecular transport, in addition to this diffusion and convection, can be influenced by non-covalent interactions between two different molecules. So binding interaction we can define as a specific interactions serving as means of chemical recognition, selective transport, and cell signaling amplification. So the one example is, let's think of an antibody-antigen binding. So in our body, foreign molecule or antigen, which means antibody can recognize it, as coming inside our body. We have antibodies in our blood plasma or in our lymphatics. So they recognize antibody or cells in the body. That antibody molecule, which binds to antibody binds to a foreign molecule or antigen, then this complex can be recognized by immune cells. And that immune cells can uptake this because this is a foreign molecule. Okay, so antibody binding enables our immune system to recognize, or immune cells recognize and remove the foreign molecule and foreign bacterial cells. So that's kind of a mechanism we have by this cellular or molecular level of binding interactions to cross these molecules into our cell membrane. Another example is selective transport of molecules into our cells. So we know that the cell membrane has a lipid bilayer structure. Not all molecules will be able to cross freely. So we have sometimes transporters which binds to specific ions and small molecules which enable to pass across the cell membrane because our cells needs a transport of molecules in and out. And sometimes this transport is not passive, meaning no energy use, but we use our own energy called ATP for actively transport, even like reverse concentration gradient. So transportation of molecules against a concentration gradient, meaning that, hey, we have a higher concentration of molecule inside, but we still need more, then just naturally diffusion direction will be the opposite, but we could have a specific transporter to move the molecule across against the concentration gradient. A good example is to keep our concentration of a potassium high inside the cell and high outside of the sodium concentration outside of the cell, and that can be managed. So this process, in fact, requires energy because we are against the concentration gradient. Or sometimes cellular process, which is forming the vesicles deriving from our plasma membrane when hormones or proteins bind to receptors on the cell membrane, then it either sometimes the cells uptake that molecule inside, or cells can spit out, called exocytosis. So this is called endocytosis. It's an example for crossing these molecules moving in and out of the cell. So I have a picture here to explain this passive and active transport, endocytosis across cell membrane. So here, depending on whether we need energy or not, passive versus active transport. So some small molecules, polar molecules, such as CO2 and oxygen, they can cross the cell membrane by simple diffusion. But some other molecules may need a transporter or integral protein molecule or channels. They can have facilitated diffusion, but these are higher concentration to lower concentration, so it's a simple diffusion process. However, sometimes in this case, this rectangular molecule is high here, but still we want more of this transport direction heat against this concentration gradient, we do need an energy. So that we call active transport, such as ion transporters or protein transporters or pumps, or even endocytosis requires energy. So here is a picture of endocytosis. One example is phagocytosis. Phago means eating. So let's say some immune cells such as phagocyte or macrophage want to uptake foreign molecules such as a pathogen, or solid particle. Here you can see plasma membrane wrap, invaginate, and grab the solid particle to get inside. A good example is in our gut. A lot of these food molecules are uptaken by this endocytosis. Another example is called pinocytosis. It's kind of extracellular fluid part. These molecules, we grab it and then pass through the cell inside the cytoplasm. And or our cell membrane has a specific receptor types, and that specific receptor bind to molecules, so-called maybe a ligand, then they will create this coated pit, and receptor-mediated endocytosis happens. So they grab this and getting inside our cell. So that's it for now. Next time, we will discuss more in depth into the diffusion process. Thank you for your attention.